Testing. Okay, thank you both for being here. Ms. Pratt, maybe start with you. You can come to the podium to give your 3-minute remarks, or you're more than welcome to stay at your chair, whatever's most comfortable. You can turn on your microphone by hitting the bottom button. And our timer is right there. As soon as you begin, your 3 minutes will start.
My name is Shelley Pratt. I'm running for 11th District Court of Appeals. I am currently a Trumbull County resident. I live in the city of Hubbard with my husband of 22 years.
Hold on real quick, Ms. Pratt. We can't hear you. So maybe, Ms. Pratt, you too. You can hold it.
Okay. I live in the city of Hubbard with my husband.
Okay. There you go.
Of 22 years and my 2 daughters. I'm currently an assistant prosecuting attorney in Columbiana County. I attended Youngstown State University and the University of Akron School of Law, where I received my Juris Doctorate in 1998. After passing the bar, I decided to pursue a career in public service to learn the ins and outs of practicing law, as a lot of new graduates do. And I was fortunate enough to get a job at Northeast Ohio Legal Services in downtown Warren, Ohio, where I was an advocate for domestic violence victims. And while I was there, I learned more than just the ins and outs of practicing law. I learned that I really found public service fulfilling. That led me to eventually taking a position with the Ashtabula County Prosecutor's Office. And there I was hired as the office's sole appellate prosecutor. I was in charge of all the office's criminal appeals, not just criminal matters, but dependency and neglect matters as well, and oddly enough, delinquent real estate tax appeals. I argued before the 11th District Court of Appeals and numerous times before the Supreme Court of Ohio. In addition to those duties, I filled in municipal court and common pleas court, and I presented cases to the grand jury. And during that time, I discovered that I enjoyed prosecution, and that is how I would like to serve the public and spend my career. And I served the people of Ashtabula County for 17 years before I moved on in 2022 to my current position in Columbiana County, where again I'm an assistant prosecuting attorney. I write the majority of the office's criminal appeals. I practice before the 7th District Court of Appeals, as well as the Supreme Court of Ohio. And I also have a part-time municipal court docket in Columbiana County Municipal Court. I decided that I would like to run for judge of the Court of Appeals because I would like to expand my public service commitment and use my appellate experience to benefit a larger portion of my community. I feel that an appellate court judge needs a strong appellate background, and that is exactly what I've earned during my nearly 2 decades as an appellate prosecutor. I am familiar with appellate procedure as well as the constitutions of the United States and the state of Ohio and the laws derived from them. I understand, the need to follow those, and that decisions of the trial courts, which an appellate court reviews, impact people's lives and their rights. And if elected, I would fully follow the Constitution and laws of the United States fairly and impartially, as well as treat people with respect and dignity.
Thank you, Ms. Pratt. Mr. Eklund, when you're ready, you can turn on your microphone. Thank you. It's on. Hot mic.
Good evening, everyone. I'm John Eklund. I am one of your judges on the 11th District Court of Appeals today, and I'm seeking re-election. And I thank you all for allowing me to be with you today. I cannot, in 3 minutes, say anything to any of you that would convince you that I am worthy of re-election to the court. I don't think. You're too discerning for that. But I'm hoping that a 3-minute, very fast, review of the last 44 years of my experience, my accomplishments, and my commitment to our community will suffice, and that you'll find it worthy. On the bench, since I've been on the court, I've been elected by my colleagues, the judges, to be the administrative and presiding judge of the court. I've twice been appointed by the Supreme Court of Ohio to serve on 2 cases in that court to help deliberate, participate, and hear the arguments and decide those 2 cases in the very short time I've been on the court. Before that, I spent 42 years as a lawyer practicing complex civil and criminal litigation from coast to coast and literally from border to border here in the United States. And for that, I was named in a peer-reviewed publication called The Best Lawyers in America for the work that I did. And I was also named an Ohio super lawyer in that capacity. My wife and I live in Munson Township, where we raised our 2 children and now enjoy our 7 grandchildren, including 2 sets of grand-twins. If my chest puffs up a little, you'll know why. I believe a judge's job, a judge's duty, is to safeguard the constitutions and laws of the United States and the state of Ohio. And that means safeguard them and apply them fairly so that the rights and responsibilities of all citizens are upheld and enforced. I do not believe that a judge's job is to rewrite the Constitution, amend the Constitution, bend it to their will, or anything of the sort, but rather to uphold it and apply it. And I promise to you and to anyone that that is what I have done, that is what I will continue to do, and there is nothing that would deter me from that restraint, which is so terribly important when we're talking about any function of our government. Thank you all again so much for allowing me to be with you tonight, and for all of you being here. It's a level of engagement that we don't see that much. Thank you.
Mr. Eklund. Okay, Ms. Pratt, I'm going to start with our first question to you. What do you consider your greatest strengths for the role and your weaknesses for the office? You'll have 1 minute as soon as you start.
I would say my greatest strength is my experience. As I've said, I've had 2 decades of appellate experience, and as far as a weakness, I would say a weakness would be deciding the tough cases, the serious crime with harm to children, things like that. But in my career, I deal with that quite often, and I think I know I can handle that.
Thank you. Mr. Eklund, same question to you. What do you consider your greatest strengths for the office and your weaknesses?
I think my greatest strength is probably 3 things. Strengths. My depth and breadth of experience, both in the criminal and the civil world. Because, the criminal cases get all the attention. It's the civil cases that can sometimes be very complicated. And when you're the administrative judge of the court, you're responsible for the courts promptly, not just fairly, but promptly getting those cases decided. And they can drag on for a while. But you all know, justice delayed is justice denied, whether it's a civil case or a criminal case. So I have the experience in both areas to bring those cases to bear in a timely fashion. Secondly, my experience in the community, both as a state senator for nearly 10 years and in the other organizations with which I've been associated, has demonstrated to me the importance of being compassionate in your community. And I think that's a great strength as well. Greatest weakness, if I have time? No?
No.
Well,
You conveniently ran out of time.
Use your imagination. All right? I'll leave that to them.
I will direct our next question right to you if you don't mind standing.
Okay.
If you could make just one change to the judicial system, what would it be and why? If you could make just one change to the judicial system, we're giving you a magic wand, what would it be and why?
All right. I will tell you, in Ohio, I would remove the party affiliation from judges' names on the general election ballot. I think the judiciary is best, to the extent we can, and of course, we can't completely, right? Divorce party affiliation from a candidate, no matter what. But I think it lessens the exercise of electing judges who are sworn to be impartial. And it sends, perhaps to some people, maybe not to you, the wrong message that somehow a party affiliation bears upon their decision-making.
Thank you very much. Ms. Pratt, same question to you. If you could make just one change to the judicial system, what would it be and why?
I believe our judicial system needs to be more efficient. I think courts often move slow, and if elected, I would make it a priority to render decisions not only competently but efficiently as well.
Thank you. I'm going to direct this next question back at you, if that's okay. What injustice have you witnessed either in or outside of the courtroom, and what was your response to that injustice?
I often witness, in my experience as a prosecutor, I often witness injustice in the sense where a victim doesn't get the type of services they need to get them the assistance to come to court and be advocated for. So a lot of times I think victims suffer an injustice when they are not able to get either mental health help or whatever they need to give them the strength to come to court so that we can prosecute those cases. So that would be the greatest injustice I see, lack of help for victims.
Mr. Eklund, same question to you. What injustice have you witnessed either in or outside of the courtroom, and what was your response, if any, to that injustice?
Injustice. We all recognize, I hope, that the injustice suffered by somebody to another person is the vindication of justice, right? It's very difficult to nail it down because there are always two sides of a story. But I've seen injustice, all right. I see injustice every time I drive into downtown Warren and I see people on the street sleeping over the steam grates on the street. I've seen injustice when I think about the extent to which the General Assembly sometimes ignores those people and ignores victims of crime, or when you have to rule on a case that eventually leaves a victim without the rights that they otherwise have under the law. And that happens sometimes. And it's not the fault of the judiciary. It's oftentimes the fault of the legislature or a society
Thank you,
that's blind
Mr.
to
Eklund.
what's going on.
Thank you very much. Okay, hopefully a little bit of a softer question to end with for both of you. And
happier one, I
a
hope.
happier one, yes. And Mr. Eklund, I'm going to start with you on this one. Can you share some of your judicial role models and why you admire them?
Sure. One of my judicial role models is a fellow by the name of John Marshall Harlan. Anybody ever heard of him? Some people have. John Marshall Harlan. He was a United States Supreme Court Justice in the late 19th century. And it was a time when the Supreme Court of the United States was a pretty conservative bunch of people and pretty rote adherence to precedent, some of which went way back, and sometimes it was interesting. Issues like child labor, the women's right to vote, all sorts of social issues. And they kind of towed the line to the old way of things. John Marshall Harlan, when it came to race relations, race equality, child labor, numerous things. He was the sole dissenter, and he dissented in many, many cases in
Thank
a way
you.
that ultimately was proven by later
Thank
courts
you.
to be the way to go.
Thank you, Mr. Eklund. I know, a minute is not enough time. We could listen to both of your answers all night, but thank you so much.
I'm
Miss-
sorry.
No. Ms. Pratt, same question to you. Who are your judicial role models and why?
As a woman lawyer, I would have to say Sandra Day O'Connor and Ruth Bader Ginsburg. As a young girl, these were my role models. This was who I wrote book reports about, and that's why I wanted to be a lawyer. And whenever I've experienced difficult times in my career, I would think of stories I've heard from these women and how they faced adversity in their careers, and it kind of gave me the strength to carry on.
Thank you so much. Mr. Eklund, Ms. Pratt, thank you both for being here with us today. We appreciate your addressing the audience questions, and just thank you so much for your time.